Growing up in northwest Kansas in the late 70s and early 80s, there were less options when it came to most things that we take for granted today. Like back then, we only had one good FM radio station, and good thing was it was both country and western. We had an over-the-air antenna at our house to receive the two television stations pretty well, and a third one was possible in good weather. I'm just saying that we had limited options when it came to receiving word from the greater world outside, which limited my sports enthusiasm as a child. Surprisingly, I was not a big or beefy young person and was not all that athletically inclined. So with a limited view of sports teams and little internal interest, I never became much of a sports fan. That is until Patrick Mahomes started to play for the Kansas City Chiefs. And once they started to win and Mahomes put on the show every week, I was hooked. I now own my own Chiefs shirts and can't imagine missing seeing a game, but what went from a casual interest has now grown into an emotional codependency in which I really care about their wins and losses and how they play. This past season was a real nail-biter with almost every game I was a bit disturbed to see how much I really cared about the Chiefs winning. Who am I began to think about myself. I've never been a fan, let alone a fanatic. But here I am, a big Chiefs fan, and like every other Chiefs fan, in a bit of a shock and mourning over their Super Bowl fizzle. I know, this is not a sports podcast or a Chiefs channel, so I do have some spiritual insights into what I saw, what I feel, and what's next for me with the Chiefs and maybe Jesus. Okay, I'm just saying. First, what I saw at the Super Bowl. Keep in mind that these are some of the best players of all time. They have made their life's work into playing and perfecting the game of football. But even the best players who are serious competitors still have days when they are way off of their game. So off that they perform terribly and cannot recover from their missteps and bad decisions. And yet, for some reason, I find comfort in their subpar performances when I think of more serious competitions like my faith performance as a follower of Jesus. Some days I am so far off of my game as you might wonder if I really am a professional church worker or not. But even if the greatest of the great football players can really have a bad day, then it makes sense that I too will be off at times. And football is just a game. My life with Jesus is vastly more serious and more consequential. But it does allow me some grace to give myself, and more importantly, to others on the same team of Christ Jesus. Not to excuse sin or make light of not trying, but also to realize that even on your best day, doing your best work, like St. Paul, our best work before God is still a filthy rag. We're not the star players, but Jesus is our righteousness, our justification, our hope, and our Redeemer. If Jesus had a bad day, then we all go down. But He did not. Tried and tempted in every way, He stood up under the assault and even suffered death on a cross, rather than give up or give in. He was faithful to the plan to the end and loved us to the end. Jesus is the star, the GOAT, the greatest of all time, worthy of all our praise and worship, attention and effort, our emotions. Yes, this is what the Super Bowl performance of the Chiefs got me to thinking about. And I'm still disturbed by how disturbed I am about the loss, because in the end, football's a game. I didn't play. I didn't lose or win. I watched from the comfort of my home. That's it. So perhaps these feelings would be better directed to things that actually matter, like the eternal salvation of my neighbor, the spiritual well-being of my congregation, and the dearest relationships that I have, like my family. So, what is next for me and the Chiefs and Jesus? I'm still a fan of both, and I will be there for the Chiefs next year, but I hope that my emotions are better spent on things that actually matter and on people I actually see every day. And Jesus? Yeah, He has all my worship, service, and praise. So, I hope to see you all this weekend in Bible study and in worship.